Hey, everybody. I'm sorry. I've been waiting for Potomac to come back on for a minute. And it's not like, oh, I just love and adore these women, but I love a good messy drama, and I knew they were going to bring it, and they did not disappoint. Okay, so we are here for Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 7, Episode 1, Spring Awakening. So it begins with this. First of all, I don't know who was in charge of the editing with the stills and the transitions, with the little bee buzzing, with the leaves crunching and flowers drying up and the deer eating. But don't do that no more. That looks a hot ass mess. It's whack. It's lame. If it was meant to be a read to these women, you read yourself, creative director or whatever the hell it is. Don't do that shit no more. I don't want to see that again. Anyway, all right, so we start off and they're at this like picnic over there, like, close to like the capital area or whatever in DC. And Giselle and Karen sit down. Robin eventually shows up. I don't care what nobody says. Nothing ever really looks good on Robin. Everything is always like just wrong. When it was blonde, it was wrong. The red is not cute. The tone she wears is just wrong. And I don't like it. And then I don't like how lukewarm she is. If there is one thing I don't like about a person, it is when the Bible says be hot or be cold. I do not like when a person is lukewarm and is a follower and then is messy, because you can't trust that kind of person. Granted, you can't trust messy ass Giselle either. But you know not to trust her. Somebody like Robin that's real shaky and stuff like that, I can't. But anyway, they also talking about Ashley's divorce. Ashley eventually shows up after she's been the subject of conversation because Ashley called her and told Giselle first. First of all, why would you tell Giselle your business? Giselle insists on having answers, insists on people being honest with her and telling her all their business, while she shows none of her real life. And when she does, it is so packaged and prepared and designed to make her look like her life is together when we clearly know it's not. She is a raggedy, broken person. She is a terrible person. She's a bitch. She's not kind. I will say, however, it was nice to see her young twin daughters, who look absolutely beautiful, who we are not judging, certainly not as children or even as adults based on what their mother is doing on television. Just want to make that clear. So they're talking about them getting a divorce, this, that, and the other. And the immediate conversation is about the assets, because Giselle was always interested in the assets. And they're asking her, well, how are y'all getting divorced? And she was like, well, in Virginia, you have to be separated for a year. And that's the problem with these southern states. They feel like they have the right to dictate to people. And it's the problem with that conservatism. Women can be in bad situations or not. In Ashley's case, we don't know, because all of this sounds like a bunch of foolishness. But I am saying that forcing somebody to have a separation before a divorce is their way of really mitigating how women in particular are able to decide things about their marriage, particularly when kids are involved. Period. Because usually men have been doing what they wanted to do all along. That being said, she's like, we're buying a house. I'm looking for a house, this, that, and the other. Da, 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 da. Next thing we know, she's looking for a house with Michael. And they're going to get it in the name of their LLC. One, I think Ashley's doing this for a storyline. I don't think Ashley is as dumb as she put on. I think Ashley is doing this, one, so if Michael continues to cheat on her, she could say, oh, we're getting a divorce, and it's less embarrassment, or she's hoping it's less embarrassment and less of a backlash on social media, so on and so forth. I see you. Okay, we never thought you liked Michael like that anyway. Okay, then she starts talking about it's going to be in the name of the LLC. That screamed to me. I don't know how much money Michael is worth, and I don't have to know. That screamed to me, y'all have bad credit, because y'all are looking for a home, a personal home, in the name of a business you're starting, so that the EIN number can be used instead of your social security numbers to track your credit. Because any man worth his salt would not have his family living in no condo, not no young family with children, when you can help it, with small children. Okay? And since it just always, their finances just always seemed weird to me. The same way Giselle's in everybody's business and then don't have no man but want to tell everybody else what to do with their relationship. Michael is always in people's finances and his is screwed up and he's always in Ray's business. That's always a red flag. Anyway, so Ashley gives us a bunch of stuff. But what I'm going to need, with the exception of Karen, who I can tolerate in this regard, because she's been married long enough. I know she went through a divorce early on in her life, and she was very clear, I got married too young on the show, whatever. And that happens. Giselle, you've been divorced significantly longer than you have been ever married. Okay? I'm going to need you to stop giving people relationship advice. I would never buy a house with Jamal. Really? Really? Because it seemed like you were definitely willing to shack up, play house, asking your girls if they would ever see themselves in Atlanta when you thought you were going to be first lady of New Birth and you thought you could cash in on that New Birth. That whole apparatus, that's what I call it. Because to call it a church at this point, child molesting, former past, I don't know who would even want to take over a church like that who is serious in the name of Jesus. I just don't see anything but greed. But you were very willing, I'm sure, if Jamal would have agreed to sign a deed, you would have taken it. And you paid $900,000 for a house that you had to put all this money into fixing. You make bad financial decisions. Speaking of bad financial decisions, Robin, how dare you talk about, well, when you're divorced, you're done with that person. Bitch, we have seen you damn near evicted at that big ass house from first season, living in townhouses with Juan. I don't know whether y'all share y'all's finances, but clearly y'all split y'all's bills like any other roommate. Zelle over here, Zelle over there to cover the rent, to cover the utilities, whatever. And you sit up here, I would never do this. Robin! Now see, that's the kind of lie you tell when you not on TV. And I'm just sitting up here like, and then Giselle made it known on the camera at the end. Oh, that house is only in Robin's name. Well, the joke is on Robin. You want to know why? Because Robin, it was your fucked up finances that got Juan in this situation anyway. When you blew his motherfucking money. Okay? Which means maybe Juan ain't into getting on no deed for no $1 million house knowing that this show could come or leave tomorrow. Y'all don't need that much, a house that big, knowing y'all's financial situation. Shit, if that's the case, Juan can walk away from that marriage, that relationship, and won't have no bills. Check to you, Juan. Next, then we get Charice. We get Charice talking to Robin, two dizzy birds talking about divorce and talking about Ashley's business. These are some miserable old bitches. And granted, Ashley's lying. Ashley's making this an issue. Ashley has made herself the star of this episode by lying. Okay, I'm not letting Ashley off the hook, but I want these bitches to come up with something else. And I want these people to think about the fact their kids watch this or are gonna watch it. And Robbie, you are setting a terrible example for your boys and how they should treat women. She wants to talk. It's just such a joke to Charice about a prenup. And so, Charice, I think, did ask her a reasonable question. Even though I'm not checking for Charice, she was like, well, did you sign one? I think Charice was anticipating her saying no, especially since she blew all his money. And she was like, yeah, I did sign one. I don't think I'm entitled to half. Charice was like, I feel like I'm entitled to half. Whatever. But my thing is, whatever the case is, Robin, you still living like somebody who cannot make their own decisions. You with a man, y'all don't have no date. You walking around with this diamond ring on your finger, which you should be using to help pay that mortgage. Because no, I don't believe that your unfashionable ass is making that much money with them sorry ass hats. Just miss me with the bullshit. And then my thing with Robin is that gaudy ass, cheap ass jewelry. Literally in every scene, I kept saying, what is it about her? I mean, the red is ugly and doesn't work. And Robin, it's almost like she should be cute, but something went wrong with her DNA and it just didn't happen. So I was like, but what is it? And it's that gaudy, like, I just got a gift card for Claire's for my 12th birthday, and it was $100, and I didn't even bought the whole store, and I decided I'd try this out. Like, the gold and the silver, you could tell it's fake, because it's all on one chain. Girl, bye. Just stop. Stop giving advice about finances. Robin, that is never going to be your area of expertise. You told us too much of your business ahead of time. Next, Charice, whatever. I'm over you. I'm First of all, I still got to beef with all these chicks for how they treated Monique. Y'all lied on that girl, lied on her family, tried to undermine the paternity of her kids, so on and so forth. And all these bitches are miserable. And what y'all did to her was fucked up. And yeah, Monique brought those receipts in that notebook out about Jamal at the reunion. And honestly, Giselle, you got off easy because she walked away from this show. So your behavior toward Wendy, I want you to remember how you've treated other people. Anyway, we're gonna get to that though. So anyway, then we get Candice. And remember I was talking about I don't like them little stills watching the deer eat and the bee buzz. Honestly, the deer probably got more camera time than Candice did in this. She's freezing her eggs or her embryos, and she was talking about I'm here for the re-release of my album. And I was like, the re-release? Didn't you have an EP? And now it's oh yeah, and I was just waiting for her to say The Weeknd, for her to say Lizzo. She goes, I'm opening for SWV. I'm opening with Faith Evans or for Faith Evans, and I'm just like, the old school tours, which are fine for Faith Evans, SWV, people who have hits and classics. I'm not shading that. What I am shading is girl bye. Girl bye. And that bright green Fashion Nova turtleneck you was wearing in the confessional, stop. Stop trying to tell us how much money you grew up with and had and that you don't have no class or style. Anyway, she's freezing the embryos, whatever. And the doctor just kind of seems... First of all, the doctor was wearing her mask. I want to understand why she didn't take that, her and Chris, as a cue. You're in a doctor's office. COVID is not over. Put on a mask. It just, the doctor was clearly explaining to her, very professional. But when they started going back and forth about you're never home, this and the other, the doctor was kind of like, even behind that mask, I just felt like the doctor was kind of uncomfortable with those cameras in there. And also kind of felt like to some extent she was not getting the real from them. And I don't blame her. Anyway, they get in the car and Candice is complaining about his schedule. And something just tells me that she's been nagging him about this for a minute. I don't know what Chris does or doesn't do. I don't know. I've never liked Candice. I think Candice honestly reminds me of a rhinoceros. And so does her mother because she looks just like her. If you Google a rhinoceros, I know that sounds mean, but oh well. If you Google a rhinoceros and put Candice's face next to it, that's what she looks like to me. And that is so distracting to me. And I find her whack. I find her whack from the time she's been on here. I could tell she had watched several seasons, like all of us, of Real Housewives of Atlanta, and then tried to imitate the Reeds of Phaedra Parks. That's whack to me. It's unoriginal and I don't like it. Anyway, she gets to talking to Chris, and Chris says something to her, and he's cursing. She was like, if you curse at me one more time. And I was thinking to myself, Candice, ma'am, we have watched you for some seasons. I mean, really curse the entire hell out of Chris. Need I bring up the butter knife, steak knife incident at that dinner? Or the last time they were at Karen's party and he tried to pull you to the side to calm you down and you cursed him out? Don't do it. It does not look good. And clearly you knew you were antagonizing him about something y'all have clearly had conversations about. Candice, miss me. Miss me with the bullshit. Next. So we keep getting these flashbacks of people just gossiping and talking about Ashley. Ashley goes to visit Uncle Lump. Let me tell you something. Uncle Lump is the uncle, the daddy, the father, the grandfather that everybody needs. Because he keeps it so fucking real with Ashley. And that is exactly what she needs. 2, I'm going to need Ashley. And I don't like to judge people's parenting. But your child kind of seemed like he was wilding out a bit. And I know he's 2. But the way he had his other little brother, who was still like a baby, like it looked like 10 months or so, on the floor down. And you didn't say anything to him. Or at least that we didn't see. That bothered me. Please structure your home. Thank you. So Uncle Lump is like, okay, are you divorced? He's asking the same questions. The difference is Uncle Lump has been consistent every time we've seen him on camera. Uncle Lump has not stopped being her uncle. He's not trying to be Candice's mother on the show or Giselle's daddy when he pops up and tries to make little digs at Karen. He's not doing that. He loves Ashley as his niece and checks her. He was like, how is this a divorce? And her mother's like, yeah, when you're done with that person, she's like, well, Mom, I saw you struggle as a single mother. She said, yes, but it was rewarding. And you know what? A mother has to do what a mother has to do. Okay? So we're not even here for that. But as the man in her life, the father figure, Uncle Lump, one, I think is happy to get rid of Michael's ass and wants Ashley, even if she has to take a risk, get them kids out of the situation while they're young enough and establish some order and have something of your own. When they asked her how much money she had, she was like, well, I don't really pay for anything. And as Uncle Lump said, you don't want to be in a situation where he's just pulling your strings and you still have to go through him, because that's a method of control. And people call that economic abuse. All right. So then we see Wendy sitting down with Peter Thomas. This stuff is so wild. Like, Peter Thomas, we hadn't seen or I haven't seen in years because I don't follow him or fuck with him. I will say this: Peter Thomas has not aged and his skin looks nice. I can give you that. Okay. Now, my experience with Nigerian Americans, we have a checkered past, just in my individual experience and from living so many years in New York. They often are into these business ventures and they are very willing to exploit they are very willing to exploit African Americans at their expense, and they try to distance themselves from it. And Wendy strikes me as that kind. The same kind that said, well, in Nigerian culture, she kept doing it over and over again. And, Ashley called her out about weaponizing her education. And as somebody who has advanced degrees, she was doing that. Anyway, I say that to say she strikes me as one of those people who do all these business ventures, doesn't know how to focus on something and do it well, and it's coming off as a clusterfuck on TV. And it's just whack. Where was I going with the Nigerian? Oh, yeah. I've just had bad experiences with them and the way they try to blame African Americans for their situation and their history as if institutional racism doesn't exist. But that's my very individualistic experiences. So I want to leave it there. But anyway, Wendy reminds me of those kinds of people, though, that I've interacted with. Or maybe it just may be a culture clash. We've had generations of this at this point. But anyway, she's talking to Peter Thomas, and it says, well, like, I want to lounge, but I want to bring in my background for education. Girl, people are not going to a lounge as an educator. I'm not going to the bar, okay, for educational experience. If I want to go to a library or a bookstore, I'll go to one. When I go to the bar, I'm going to relax and to drink and to hang out. Okay, so this whole idea about how about some hours we make it like a library with books by all Black authors, and they're opening it up to kids 2 to 4 in Baltimore City. Huh? And Peter was like, no. Just no. And then I think with all the little things that, sometimes you think about scamming and all that business. When he was talking about 20% of the 25%, y'all know that gift where it's like Easter Ray and the numbers all over the place. I was just like, this just sounds like not a sound investment. And Baltimore, you can definitely find a property much cheaper than $1.5 million and then turn it out. I don't know if he was talking about the budget or whatever, but seeing that Peter's bars have occasionally closed down, no. Just no. But Peter, you look good though. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Your skin is on point. I'm glad to see you doing well. Wendy, I want you to pick a career. And let me just go ahead and read Wendy for a second. Wendy is always somewhere. I'm Dr. Wendy Osefo, PhD. That is not how a PhD works. You put PhD at the end of your name, or you put doctor at the front of your name. That's Dr. Wendy Osefo, doctor. I have a PhD, Wendy. And Wendy's an assistant professor at Johns Hopkins. That is not a tenured professor. So she still has to reach associate professor status to have tenure. And I imagine that she has had some indication that they are not going to promote her to tenure at Johns Hopkins, which is why she's on reality TV trying to make money and all. It's just a tacky look. It's a tacky look. I don't know that it's a long-term look. If you want to sell your candles, fine. If you want to do all this other stuff, but Wendy, I just don't like you. I don't like the way you jumped on board. Speaking of going back to Monique, the way you jumped on board and attacked Monique like she didn't have a reason to whoop Candice's ass and she should have whooped Giselle's while she was at it. I don't like you. Next. Anyway, Karen, is doing like a spring fling party. And I like Karen. I know Karen, whatever, but I like Karen. I'm here for Karen because Karen knows how to be reasonable. She knows how to be honest enough. I'm not saying that Karen ain't never lied about anything, but she's kept her marriage intact. I think Karen's a good mother. She's a good example, right, for an older woman, right? I think that a mature woman, should I say. Um, what else? So before they had the party, Giselle still has them sorry fashions. And honestly, I'm not a fashionista. So, like, before they had started, Bravo started always playing them clips about her fashion. I really didn't notice. I was like, well, Robin's tacky. How come they don't go in on her? But Robin has never presented herself as like the girly girl that goes in on people's fashions. And I think that has protected her in some ways. And I was like, that's why. And also, Giselle's just not nice. Anyway, her daughters try to help her. Whatever. Her wardrobe is tacky. Anyway, so who did I forget? Mia. So Mia may have had it. It appears she had like a cancer scare. I don't joke about cancer. I thank God that my mother is a breast cancer survivor, and it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I know cancer is difficult, chemotherapy is difficult, and not everybody comes out of that. So God bless her. I wish her the best, and I would never tell somebody like, "Oh, you don't have." Like, I don't understand that. I think that's insensitive. And if it turns out that's the case, fine. But wait until you have proof, or just shut the fuck up. And I'm gonna tell you, I know a lot of people don't like Mia because she lies, and Mia does lie. She lies a lot. But I'm gonna tell you why I like Mia. I like Mia because of her story. When she talked about how her father was abusive and her mother was on drugs, and things happened, right? Life happened. And he, was beating up her stepmother. She tried to help, and he messed up one of her arms or something, and she went to school and they asked her what happened. She told them. Next thing you know, she's in foster care, and then went through a cycle of homes, and ended up stripping, essentially, right? There are so many young girls that go through so much in foster care that end up running away, being trafficked, not having anybody who really cares about them, not having parents all the time that are even capable of taking care of them. And many of them do go into sex work, prostitution, whatever you want to call it. And many of them start as children, as far as I'm concerned, as trafficking. And not everybody, too many people die. Drug overdoses, abuse, killed, murdered. Not everybody lives to tell the story. So if the one thing you say about Mia is a lie, well, you know what? If you had a fucked up childhood and you were always bobbing, weaving, trying to avoid, you learn to do what you got to do. So even if she's being dishonest about different things, I don't care. Mia has a story to tell, and you know what? Mia, maybe there's somebody watching this fuck shit that may not identify with any of them. But if the only lesson they get is that I can survive this, then I'm a rock with it, because I think Mia has a story to tell, and her mother has a story to tell, and the developing relationship with them. That is what I think about Mia. Now, I know people don't think that. They don't have to agree with it. I don't care. I stand on that. And I know she can be a goofball and ditzy and everything else. That's not the point. That's not the point I'm making. I just acknowledge that. So we get to Karen's party. All right. Giselle brings up Ashley's divorce. What is with Giselle so obsessed with other women's business? Ashley eventually pops in and Karen's like, we talking about you. Ashley pops in. And Ashley, let me tell you something. That was a cute dress. Your hair looked good. It just wasn't for that kind of event. That outfit was a bit much. It actually wouldn't have been a bad reunion dress, but go ahead, Black Mermaid. Nevertheless, but she looked beautiful. Giselle is like, well, I don't believe you. You're getting a divorce. I'm like, bitch, you was up here with your ex-husband who cheated on you. It was news. It's unfortunate, and I always feel for women who go through that. But Giselle, you went back into that, put it on TV, essentially dragged your kids through that. No telling what kind of bullshit they had to deal with at school, or their friends' parents gossiping about that because everybody don't respect kids' boundaries and that kind of thing. You put that on TV, and now you want to tell somebody else what to do with their marriage and relationships? Girl, bye. She is too obsessed with other women's business in a way that makes me look like she always has something negative to say about somebody's man. And that's why I'm just going, something about her ain't right. Anyway, so she accused her of lying. Wendy shows up. I don't like Wendy. But she walks up to Giselle and says, hey, and then tries to hug her. And I ain't gonna lie, the way Giselle rejected her had me laughing my ass off. And I can't stand Giselle, but that was funny to me. First of all, y'all aren't friends. Y'all have gone in on each other. Giselle lied on your family, on your husband, saying he was cheating with you, made you cry, made you feel bad about your body and your behavior. Like in a way that had you with tears. I don't know if you were going through something, but my thing is, why be fake and try to befriend her? First of all, your husband was there. Just out of respect for him, you should have just had complete distance, okay? But she didn't do that, and you got played the same way you were talking shit about Robin and Juan when y'all went to that retreat. And Robin was like, well, okay, but you were one of the people screaming the loudest for us at the engagement. And you didn't even know her like that. You look like a damn fool. And here you are again. Wendy, Giselle, miss me. And then for Giselle to, as soon as she saw Mia pop up, not like a homegirl, a friend, couldn't wait to get in her face to question her being on social media about cancer. And this is what I mean. I don't play about that because that's very personal for me. And I remember crying, being scared for my mother. And my mother went through breast cancer. She went through chemotherapy. And that was a very difficult and scary time. And praise be to God, she's a survivor. But I don't play about that kind of thing. And Giselle, what you did was nasty. It was rude. It was unnecessary. Mia did not even meet your energy. But let me tell you something. When she looked at you and said, you're telling me I'm doing this for attention? Fuck you. I said, yes, God, Mia, this is why I can go up for you. Okay? I may not be able to defend everything, but you know what? You are what this show needed. Somebody to get in Giselle's motherfucking ass. Let me tell you something, girl. I'm with you. I see you. The grand dame, you all right with me. But Charice, that other whole crew, Candice, and that whatever she thinks is girl. Candice, never mind. Y'all, that's Real Housewives of Potomac though, but I am glad I have something to laugh at. So I'll see y'all soon. Bye.